Hello students, I am Ankit Kumar, PGT Economics, here to take class of Economics for 12th standard. In this video, we will study about basic concepts related to national income. Let's start with concept of final goods and intermediate goods. Final goods. Final goods refers to those goods which are used either for consumption or for investment. It includes goods purchased by households as they are meant for final consumption, like milk purchased by household. Consumer will consume it directly or indirectly. Goods purchased by firms for capital formation or investment are also included in final goods. For example, machinery purchased by a firm. Intermediate goods. Intermediate goods refer to those goods which are used either for resale or for further production in the same year. Intermediate goods include goods purchased for resale like milk purchased by a dairy shop. Shopkeeper purchased milk but his purpose is not to consume. His purpose is to resell the milk and earn profit. So here milk is intermediate good. Goods used for further production are also included in intermediate goods, like milk used for making sweets. Important point about intermediate goods. They are generally purchased by one production unit from another production unit. All purchases by production units are not included in intermediate goods. Which goods are purchased for further production process are included in intermediate goods. That means intermediate goods remains within the production boundary. They have derived demand. Demand of intermediate goods depends upon the demand of final goods. So we can say that they have derived demand curve. Durable goods purchased by government for military purpose are included in intermediate goods. Durable goods like trucks, aircrafts, vehicles, etc. purchased by government for military purpose are included under the category of intermediate goods as they are used to produce defense services. Value of intermediate goods is merged with the value of final goods. Suppose a miller buys wheat worth rupee 1000 and converts it into flour worth rupee 2000. The value of flour includes the value of wheat. Production boundary. The production boundary is the line around the productive sector. As long as goods remain within the production boundary, they are intermediate goods. And when a good comes out of this boundary, it becomes a final good. The concept of production boundary is very important to understand the difference between intermediate goods and final goods. Classification of goods as intermediate goods and final goods. Distinction is made on the basis of end use. If end use of a good is consumption or investment, then it is final good. However, if the good is used for resale or further production in the same year, then it is intermediate goods. Let's take an example and learn the importance of production boundary and classify the goods into final goods and intermediate goods. In our example, there is a farmer. He produces wheat using his factors of production. This wheat is purchased by a flour mill. This flour mill produces flour using the wheat. Now this wheat flour purchases by a bakery. The bakery will produce breads. Breads are purchased by a shopkeeper. In this process, goods are purchased for further production process, means they are remaining in production boundary. Wheat, flour and bread are intermediate goods. When this bread is purchased by a customer, it will out from production boundary. Now the bread is final good because the purpose of consumer is to consume, not to get profit. If a customer purchases wheat direct from farmer, it also be treated as final good. In our example, if flour come out from production boundary, it will also be treated as final good. Bread purchased by a customer from bakery will also be treated as final good. You have noticed that bread purchased by shopkeeper is used for resale, not for further production. Now you are thinking that how to treat. Bread purchased by shopkeeper will also be treated as intermediate good because he will use it for resale, not for final consumption. I hope you have learned it. Now we will discuss about difference between final goods and intermediate good. When we solve question of these types, we have to draw a table. First column is basis of differentiation. Second column is final goods and third column is intermediate goods. First basis of differentiation is meaning. Final goods are those goods which are used either for consumption or for investment. Intermediate goods are those goods which are used either for further production or resale in the same year. Note that if a commodity which is purchased for further production or resale and remain unsold, then it will be included in stock. Second basis of differentiation is nature. Final goods are included both in national income and domestic income. Intermediate goods are neither included in national income nor in domestic income. In next lesson, we will discuss about domestic and national income in detail. Third basis of differentiation is demand. Final goods have a direct demand. Intermediate goods have derived demand. Fourth basis of differentiation is value addition. No value has to be added to final goods. Some value has to be added to intermediate goods. After value addition, they transformed in final goods. Fifth basis of differentiation is further use. Final goods are used for final consumption. Intermediate goods are used for further production. Sixth basis of differentiation is production boundary. Final goods have crossed the production boundary. Intermediate goods are still within the production boundary. In last, we can differentiate these goods with the help of examples. Milk purchased by households is an example of final good, but milk purchased by a shopkeeper is an example of intermediate good. Next concept is consumption goods and capital goods. Final goods can be classified into two groups. First, consumption goods. Second, capital goods. Let's start with consumption goods. Consumption goods refers to those goods which satisfy the wants of consumer directly. For example, bread, butter, shirts, pens, television, furniture, etc. Consumption goods are of four types. Number 1, durable goods. Durable goods are goods which can be used again and again over a long period of time, like television, refrigerators, etc. Number 2, semi-durable goods. Goods which can be used for a limited period of time are termed as semi-durable goods. These goods have a lifespan of around 1 year. For example, clothes, shoes, etc. Number 3, non-durable goods. Non-durable goods are used up in a single act of consumption. These goods can't be used more than once. That is, they lose their identity in single act of consumption. For example, milk, bread, food grains, etc. Number 4. Services. Services refers to non-material goods which directly satisfy the human wants. They can neither be seen nor touched. For example, services of doctor, teachers, banks, etc. Capital goods. Capital goods are those final goods which help in production of other goods and services like machinery, equipment, etc. They are used in further productive purpose and have expected lifetime of several years. They don't lose their identity in the production process. That means they do not get merged in process of production. They need repairs or replacement over time. They have derived demand as their demand is derived for other goods which they help to produce. Note that all goods used by producer are not capital goods. Producer goods include two types of goods. First is single-use producer goods. It includes raw material like coal, wood, etc. They cannot be repeatedly used. Simply these are intermediate goods. Second is capital goods. It includes fixed assets like plant and machinery which can be repeatedly used in the production process. So it can be said that all capital goods are producer goods, but all producer goods are not capital goods. Difference between consumer goods and capital goods. First column is basis of differentiation, second column is consumption goods, and third column is capital goods. First basis of differentiation is demand. Consumption goods have direct demand. Capital goods have derived demand. Second basis of differentiation is production capacity. Consumption goods do not promote production capacity. Capital goods help in raising production capacity. Third basis of differentiation is expected life. Most of the consumption goods have limited expected life. Only durable goods have long life. Capital goods generally have an expected life of more than 1 year. In last, we can differentiate these goods with the help of examples. Milk purchased by household is example of consumption good. Plant and machinery is example of capital good. There is no clear-cut line of demarcation between consumption goods and capital goods. The same goods can be consumption good and also capital goods. It depends on the ultimate use of the good. Let's take an example and decide the good is consumer good or capital good or intermediate good. In our example, there is a car. If this car is purchased by a household like me and you, then it will be used for final consumption or self-satisfaction. This car is a consumption good. If this car is purchased by a taxi driver, then it will be used for hired taxi services. This is his investment. Then this car is capital good. If this car is purchased by a car dealer, he will use it for resale and make profit. This time car is intermediate good. Next concept is stock and flow. Stock. Stocks are economic variables measured at a given point of time. For example, stock of goods in the godown as on 31st January 2017. Stock variables are not time dimensional. National wealth, national capital, money supply, etc. are the examples of stock variable. Flow. Flows are economic variables measured over a period of time. For example, production of goods during the month of January 2017. Flow variables are time dimensional as they are measured for a period of time. National income, consumption expenditure, savings, exports, profit, investment, etc. are flow variables. Difference between stock and flow. First column is the basis of differentiation, second column is stock, and third column is flow. First basis of differentiation is meaning. Stock are economic variables measured at a given point of time. Flows are the economic variables measured over a period of time. Second basis of differentiation is time dimension. Stock variable does not have a time dimension. Flow variable has a time dimension. Third basis of differentiation is nature of concept. Stock is a static concept. Flow is a dynamic concept. In last, we can differentiate these variables with the help of examples. Population of India as on 31st March 2016 is an example of stock concept. Number of births during 2016 is an example of flow variable. Next concept is about gross investment, net investment and depreciation. First of all, we talk about investment. Investment or capital formation refers to addition to the capital stock of an economy. For example, construction of building, purchase of machinery, addition to inventories of goods, etc. Investment can be looked up in two forms. First, gross investment and second, net investment. Gross investment. Gross investment is the total addition to the capital stocks of an economy. It includes depreciation. Later we will discuss about depreciation. Capital stocks consist of fixed assets and unsold stocks. So gross investment is the expenditure on purchase of fixed assets and unsold stock during the accounting year. Net investment. The actual addition made to capital stock of economy in a given period is termed as net investment. It excludes the depreciation. Net investment is equal to gross investment minus depreciation. Let us now understand the meaning of depreciation. Depreciation is an annual allowance for normal wear and tear and falls in obsolescence of a fixed capital asset. Commonly, CFC word is used for depreciation. That means consumption of fixed capital. Depreciation is also known as current replacement cost or replacement cost of fixed assets or capital consumption allowance. Depreciation of assets is mainly due to three reasons. First, normal wear and tear. Continuous use of fixed assets in production process decreases their productive capacity and value. Second, passage of time. Value of fixed assets also decreases with the passage of time, even if they are not being put to use in the business. Natural factors like rain, winds, weather, etc. contribute to fall their values. Third, expected obsolescence. Value of fixed assets also decrease due to change in technology or change in demand for goods and services. Depreciation does not take into account unexpected or unseen obsolescence or sudden destruction of capital as can happen with natural calamities, thefts, accident or other circumstances. This is called capital loss. Calculation of amount of depreciation. Fixed assets need to be replaced from time to time. Replacement of fixed assets requires funds. Provisions for the fund is made on annual basis. Instead of considering a bulk investment for replacement, we consider an annual depreciation cost every year. Let us understand with help of an example. Suppose a new machine is purchased. Machine is purchased for rupee 1 lakh. It having useful life of service 20 years, after which it falls into disrepair and needs to be replaced. Suppose that scrap value of machine will be nil after 20 years. Therefore, annual provision for depreciation is equal to 1 lakh divided by 20 is equal to rupee 5,000. See the diagram to understand the relation of gross investment, net investment and depreciation. This circle represents the gross investment. This includes the depreciation. When depreciation is excluded, remaining part presents the net investment. Now there are two parts, net investment and depreciation. When we include the depreciation into net investment, it converts into gross investment. Let's now understand the difference between depreciation and capital loss. First column is basis of differentiation. Second column is depreciation and third column is capital loss. First basis of differentiation is meaning. Depreciation refers to fall in the value of fixed assets due to normal wear and tear, passage of time or expected obsolescence. Capital loss refers to loss in value of fixed assets due to unseen obsolescence, natural calamities, thefts, accident, etc. Second basis of differentiation is provision for loss. Provision is made for replacement of assets while counting depreciation. No such provision for capital loss. Third basis of differentiation is production process. Depreciation does not hamper to the production process. Capital loss hampers the production process. Next concept is about industrial classification. Industrial classification means grouping production units into industrial groups or sectors. This is first step to be taken in estimating national income. It is statistically more convenient to estimate national income originating in a group of similar production units of a country. Now the economy is divided into three broad groups: primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Let's now explain each sector. Primary sector. Primary sector includes production units exploiting natural resources like land, water, subsoil assets, etc. Growing crops, catching fish, extracting minerals, animal husbandry, forestry, etc. are some examples of primary sector. It is primary because it is a source of basic raw materials for the secondary sector. Primary means of first importance. Secondary sector. Secondary sector includes production units which are engaged in transforming one physical good into another physical good. Factories, construction, power generation, water supply, etc. are some examples of secondary sector. Such activities are called manufacturing activities. These units convert raw material into finished goods. It is called secondary because it is dependent upon the primary sector for raw material. Tertiary sector. Tertiary sector includes production units engaged in producing services, transport, trade, education, hotel and restaurant, finance, government administration, etc. are some examples of tertiary sector. This sector finds third place because its growth is mainly dependent on the primary and secondary sectors. Next concept is about inventory and change in inventories. Inventory. The stock of unsold finished goods or semi-finished goods or raw material which a firm carries from one year to the next year is called inventory. Inventory is a stock variable. It is measured at a given point of time. Change in inventory. Change in inventories is the difference between closing inventory and opening inventory. Change in inventories or change in stock is equal to closing stock minus opening stock. Change in inventories is a flow variable. It takes place over a period of time. That's all. We will discuss the rest part in the next video. Thank you.